Uh, and I'm live. Yeah, Tom. He's okay. Sorry, guys. Come get him. Giovanni's about to pull the TV down on himself. It's not a big TV. But yeah, please.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. They're about, I guess, 10 months old now. And they are chaos on 4 paws. Or I guess I should say chaos on 8 paws because there's 2 of them. It's not a big TV, it's not, but he was about to climb on top of it and I don't know where he was going, but yeah, I was just like, so it's really kind of funny because you hear no sir in the house a lot because they're getting up to something. They're definitely chaos at 8 paws, but they're hysterical. And they're exactly what we needed. They really brought a lot of life to the house, and it's been fantastic having them. But still, every now and again, you're like, no! Apparently Dante fell off the microwave today. So, all right. So, good morning, beloveds. Happy Halloween, or Samhain, or Samhain. Samhain is apparently Scottish, and Samhain is Irish. So, in any pronunciation is okay. And if anybody tells you that you're doing it wrong, well, you can just say, you know what? Okay. And I have 2 recommendations for you. If you don't follow Jim Palmer, I highly recommend Jim Palmer. But he did a really amazing breakdown on Halloween today. And then there's another one. I follow Jim Palmer on Facebook and on Substack, if you do Substack. And then there's another one called Kenny Boyle. He's Scottish, which is how I learned a couple of different pronunciations for Samhain, because I've always called it Samhain. Because I saw he's on Instagram and Facebook, and he does Scottish legend and lore. And his thing on Samhain this morning was really incredible because he gave you all the rules. And I was just like, wow, okay. And if somebody offers you Halloween porridge, don't take it because there are various objects in it. 1, choking hazard, and 2, like if you get a thimble, you'll be single by the end of the year. If you get a ring, you'll be married by the end of the year. If you get a button, you'll be dead at the end of the year. Oh no, you'll be poor. I forget what. Oh no, the dead at the end of the year is the shoe. So, which is not the Halloween, the Halloween porridge. So, I was just like, but it was really interesting to hear all of these, some of which I knew. But one that was really interesting was the bonfire one, where everybody brings fuel for the bonfire. Everybody in the community brings fuel for the bonfire. And then, you were supposed to, before you leave your house, you extinguish your hearth fire, and then you relight it from the big bonfire. Because if you don't, it means that you are no longer part of the burning heart of the community. And I went, oh, there we are. And I thought, so that was really interesting. I was like, all right then. I mean, taking a burning ember home from a fire nowadays might be not the easiest thing, but here we are. I just, okay. I could think of a way to do that. If what you would do is use the little electric tea lights and give everybody a little electric tea light to take home. We light the tea lights before you leave the center. And then when you get home, that's the first light. You take that light into your house, and you use that light to turn on the rest of your lights. That's the way you can do that. Huh. Creative, right? I just thought about that. I may have to think about creating that kind of ritual. Maybe for Yule. That would be fun. Maybe for Yule. Okay. Normally they do that New Year's, maybe even New Year's, because Yule's the shortest day of the year. I'm going to think about this. We may be creating a ritual here. Okay. I was like, where are my glasses? Let's do the housekeeping and then we'll get on with the reading. And all the housekeeping is me reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. Website is creativelife.org. Constant contact is email@creativelife.org. If you will email that, you get one email a week, tells you what's going on for the week and the month, and the hot links are hot. If it says click here now, it means it. It is a blind CC, which means nobody will get your email. And when I say one a week, I mean that unless something unusual happens. We do live in hurricane country. So, and there is a hurricane out there that apparently we are going to get a little rain from, but that's it. We're just going to get a little rain from it tomorrow afternoon. Yeah. So, okay. So, social media. Let me do the social media really quick. I only mention the social media from the standpoint of we do not monetize it. So what we ask you to do instead is go like, subscribe, follow based on which platform you're on, and then engage with the individual posts. So react to the post, comment on the post, share the post. When you engage with the pages in those ways, it bumps us in the algorithms. More people see our stuff. We don't want to deal with the ads any more than you do. So free, easy way you can support us. And we don't give these big billionaires more money. And we are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark, and I am the running Rev Ryan on the social medias that I am on. So, Your Spiritual Power is a collection of some of Ernest Holmes' rarer works that may not be published anywhere else right now, in print anywhere else right now. We happen to be doing Discover a Richer Life, which I found out based on this is a collection of his Science of Mind articles, which I thought was really interesting. If you've read the textbook, you'd think Ernest isn't a good writer. And then you read things like this and you go, oh no, he's a phenomenal writer. He's also a fantastic speaker because some of the books are actually transcribed talks. So I never recommend people I never recommend that you start with the textbook. If you've never read anything by Ernest Holmes, start with this thing called You. It's phenomenal. And it will give you courage to read that. It's just like, I love Terry Pratchett. I want everybody to read Terry Pratchett, but I don't recommend you start with The Color of Magic and The Light Fantastic because they're hard to read. When you have gotten into Terry Pratchett, maybe go back and read those, but don't start there. Don't start there. Mort is one of my favorites, or like Witches Abroad is another really good one. So if you look him up, you can actually, they'll list the books based on the characters. So do you want to read about Death and Susan? Do you want to read about the witches? Do you want to read about the Night Watch? Or Rincewind. So, because he was the original character and will always be one of my favorites. So, okay. So we are doing, if you're following along, we are on 219. We are doing Using the Law of Mind, because we're in the practical prayer part. We're in part 2 of Discover a Richer Life. Using the Law of Science of Mind, a response to every thought. Trusty highlighter. Okay. There is a law of mind in action. Intelligence taking form through law, and its action in our experience can only be the result of motivation by our thought. This probably confuses many, for most people are a little bit suspicious when they come to think of things spiritual, not realizing that everything in the universe has to be governed by law and order, that there would have to be laws of mind or spirit, just as there are physical laws. This is why Jesus said, "It is done unto us as we believe." There is something that does it, but only as we believe. Therefore, it responds to us by corresponding with our acceptance of it. Now, at first, this seems a little bit difficult and hard to accept, and it looks as though we couldn't understand it. But do we really understand? But what do we really understand? We do not understand how some actions become, actions, oak trees, or acorns. I was like, that word doesn't make sense. Well, if you had read the word that was actually there, it would. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go back. Now, at first, this seems a little bit difficult and hard to accept, and it looks as though we couldn't understand it. But what do we really understand? We do not understand how acorns become oak trees. We do not understand anything other than the way nature works. The why and the how, science, philosophy, and religion know nothing about. These are the only avenues of knowledge we have. Okay, wait, what? Hang on. The why and how, science, philosophy, and religion know nothing about, and these are the only avenues of knowledge we have. I do not. Okay. I think that's one of the reasons why frequently when we do treatments, we give up the how. The how is not our job. Our job is to state what we want and then let spirit deal with the how. But clearly he's going somewhere, so let's follow along. If then we had the same faith in spiritual laws that we do and must have in everything we deal with in nature, we would have perfect faith because we wouldn't doubt and seeming miracles would happen every day. I would like to establish why I believe that we can use the law of mind and use it independently of our present circumstances. The principle upon which its use is based involves two very simple theories. The universe in which we live is a thing of intelligence and of presence. Two very simple theories. Okay. Sir James Jeans, the great astronomer, said that we could think of God as an infinite thinker thinking mathematically, by which he means there is person, the thoughts of God, and the law of God. Well, maybe that's where he gets the mathematically from, because he's constantly using that phrase. All right. Sir Arthur Eddington, another famous astronomer, said that all physical laws appear as though they were intelligence acting as law. Now, this is exactly what I believe. We, as persons, live in a divine presence as spirit and in the universal law as action, and we should receive inspiration from one and give direction to the other. Okay. All right. So we live in the divine presence as spirit and in the universal law as action. Okay. I'm with him. It should also only be the ultimate creative agency in the universe which responds to us, much as the image of an object is reflected to us from a mirror. It is done unto us as we believe, and we are forgiven our debts as we forgive our debtors. To this, we must add one other thought. Okay. The subjective state of our thought constitutes 90% of our total thought content, maybe 99%. All these unconscious thoughts and thought patterns, motivations, conflicts, repressions, whatever you want to call them, are beneath our conscious threshold, but they also help to constitute our entire thought. If we could come to understand that the law of mind responds to our entire content of thought, we should see that habitual thought patterns, even though unconscious, would be silently attracting or repelling whether we knew it or not. It is just as plain as though all our pockets were full of different kinds of seeds, and as we walked around, they kept falling onto the ground whether we knew it or not. They would produce growth. We would then look about and say, I did not sow those seeds. We have done it unknowingly, but ignorance of the law excuses no one from its operation. Okay. Wow. Now that is the first time I have heard that pocket full of seeds. Pocket full of seeds. Huh. That is an incredible metaphor. And I'm not sure, I definitely agree with the 90. I'm not sure about the 99%. However, that being said, I've done a lot of work. I've done a whole lot of work to dig around and see what is in my unconscious. Is there still stuff down there? Heck yes. But I'm a whole lot healthier than I used to be. And I had to do the work because my life was messy, you know. And so and that's one of the things that I say on a fairly regular basis. If you don't like the way your life looks, then you need to dig into your unconscious and figure out what it is that you actually believe. Because what you actually believe is influencing the way you see the world. Because we can say one thing and believe another. All right. We must realize that what all the world has believed influences our thought. This is where he talks about race consciousness. This is the theory that Carl Jung, the great psychiatrist, developed. In addition to his psychological and medical outlook, he also has sound spiritual and metaphysical concepts, and he sees the universe as one system. He refers to the sum total of the world thought as the collective unconscious, and what everybody believes in some way operates through everyone else. It's one of the reasons why, as we do our own work, we are helping to heal the collective unconsciousness. Because the more of us who get busy and work on what is in our collective unconscious, we can take some of that stuff out. What? Dante. In analytical psychology, it is recognized that most of our repressed thoughts do not come back into the conscious mind. So, if so, we should not be surprised that all of us are carrying around thoughts that in some way deny the supremacy of good. In my estimation, if we could get the majority of people in the world today to believing and affirming that there need never be another war, then there never would be another war. It is the only thing that can stop war. Everything else tends to bring it on. This is the only thing that can stop war. Okay, where are you going? Yeah, I love you too. Okay, he started purring. Okay, hang on. And he just interrupted me, so now I gotta find my spot again. Okay, this is the only thing that can stop war, whether... wait. Yeah, this is the only thing that can stop war, whether it's called a prayer of faith or science of mind. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we can get caught up in semantics. However, world peace can only happen when the sum total of people's belief adds up to the fact that it is going to come about. We do know that one kind of thought can neutralize another. Okay. And that is very important. Or this is very important. Observe if we are full of negative thoughts and they are attracting negative conditions, and if we could not change them, we would be caught in a trap. Fortunately, this is not the case. One kind of thought will replace another. This has already been determined in at least 2 laboratory projects at Duke University and University of Redlands. The results indicate that affirmative prayer neutralizes previous negative prayer. These scientific demonstrations indicate that no matter how much anybody failed, if they could affirm the success, they could neutralize the failure. And there's that saying that a master has failed more times than an apprentice has started. And that's what success is. You've got to get up one more time than you fall. Let's see. Isn't it a rather remarkable thing that this finding came from psychological laboratories rather than theological seminaries. It appears to be a paradox, similar to the situation Jesus encountered. He had to find his followers from doctors, lawyers, fishermen, and tax collectors. Why? The priests could not free themselves from old static thought patterns. Interesting. All right, we're wrapping up. I believe that we are all somewhat in the way. What? Ernest? Okay. Oh, no, okay. Let me try that sentence again. I believe that we are all somewhat that way. This way. So we find today that some great spiritual truths are being demonstrated in scientific endeavors, and we should be glad of it. I'm always glad when new findings in physics, psychology, or medicine have significant or meaning which exactly parallels what you and I believe and helps to prove it. This modern science is continually doing. It is now demonstrated and is no different from what Jesus implied, that affirmative prayer outweighs negative prayer, and we must take that to mean that continuous affirmation will neutralize an unconscious negation. There's an excellent metaphor for that where with a mucky pond, a stagnant pond, when you start running clear water into it, eventually it will clear the pond. One drip at a time, but it will clear the pond. So what does this mean? Suppose somebody has been filled with fear all their life. Fear is sort of a vague thing. Often one does not know what they are afraid of, but they are afraid. But if we know that a thought of faith will neutralize a thought of fear in ourselves or somebody else, and that a continuous affirmative attitude will neutralize a negative one. If we come to know that one kind of thought will neutralize another, wipe it out, then we can set about to change our thinking and our world experience. As we entertain new and desirable thoughts in consciousness, they in turn become part of the content of the subconscious, and gradually the entire content of our thought can be swung over from what perhaps has been negative to what is positive. And as we do this, the law of mind responds accordingly. And that which is created in our experience comes to reflect the new content of our thought. So we start to live a new life. We give thanks that God, who created all things, has given us the ways and the means to fully express God's life, which is in us, and to discover and experience joy and happiness in all that we are and do. All right, then. Well, that was interesting. I mean, he didn't tell me anything I didn't know, but he did it in a very short and very concise way. And he quoted scientific studies. And that just makes me very happy. Anytime you quote scientific studies, yay. And that's what he's like. He's like, look, science is starting to prove it. But his point about Jesus pulling his followers from among, lawyers and doctors and tax collectors and fishermen because the priests were caught up in an old static thought. That is why science of mind is open at the top. He doesn't ever want us to become static in our thinking. He wants us to constantly be examining our thinking and making the adjustments necessary to get the most good out of our life. Because if we could be said to have a purpose, it's to express more life. That's it. That's it. Your life is your gift from the divine. What you do with your life is the gift back to the divine. That's it. So you do have a purpose in life, but it's not what you thought. Okay. There is a cat right here just hanging over my knee, purring away. And I really don't want to go to work now. I want to stay home and pet the cat all day. But I have to get up and go to work, and I really need to wrap this up. So now I'm going to encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day, a take care of yourself day, a let's wrap this week up day, a happy Halloween day, a blessed Samhain day, a be aware that the veil is very thin today, so you may see some interesting stuff day, a tell somebody you love them day, a cuddle your fur babies day, a you got this day, a good day, and if that is too much pressure, because occasionally it is, simply have a day. You are enough, just as you are. You're a beloved expression of the divine. Your spirit in motion, God in action, a brilliant light and a divine spark, and a beautiful masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time at your own pace. And as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you are a godling. Explore the truth of your own being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be, because the divine knows you to be good. And from there, anything is possible. Right, Dante? Anything is possible. So, almost looking at the camera. All right. So I'm going to remind you, Reverend David will be on around 5 p.m. with you. I'll be back with you around 9-ish tomorrow. I'm not going to the Renaissance Festival tomorrow because I have something else to do. So I'll be here. Yeah. Know that you are loved. I will see you next time.